Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I want to thank some of my other fellow friends and Mary Weather True Crime Facebook group, Olivia's Army, that's Aunt Tammy, for asking people to be held accountable on this 32 people arrested in Troup County human trafficking sting. There's a lot of other mods that probably come in here in a little while that got their channels. I hope they come in where they can introduce themselves and y'all can follow them as well. Anybody want to get up in the box? Just let me know that. Without further ado, I want to make sure, better disclaimer, mature audiences, graphic details, accusations in this party are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I always like to start with a little Bible verse: learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take out the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips and balance in favor of fair use. You see the help me sign? Y'all remember that. Y'all might see somebody doing that help me sign. You tuck in your thumb like this and it says help. Close your hand up. Me. Help me. Okay? Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description, the chat here. So if any one of you are here that I'm waiting on, there we go. There's the link right there. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. We got 3 different parts to show. Here's where it says it's in LaGrange, Georgia. And we give thanks to Yahoo News. 32 in custody following undercover human trafficking operation in Troup County, Georgia. The Troup County Sheriff's Office announced on Monday that 32 people were taken into custody following a joint undercover operation that involved its narcotics division, the Coweta County Sheriff's Office, the Troup County Marshal's Office, the Haralson County Sheriff's Office, and the LaGrange Police Department. The undercover operation targeted human trafficking in Troup County, according to the Sheriff's Office. By utilizing technology, investigators identified the suspects involved in the prostitution and human trafficking industry and took them into custody once they violated the state law through a 2-day operation that took place on July 16th through the 17th. All suspects were arrested without incident and transported to the Troup County Jail, according to the Sheriff's Office. The 32 suspects who were taken into custody will face charges that range from prostitution to possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute. The sheriff's office says the investigation revealed that the victims of the human trafficking operation were also possible sex traffickers. Those cases still remain under investigation with possible state or federal charges pending, according to the sheriff's office. The Troup County Sheriff's Office remains absolutely, let me scroll this down a little more, unwavered in our commitment to fighting human trafficking and dismantling the criminal networks that exploit the vulnerable. These 32 arrests are not just numbers. They represent our ongoing effort to target those who profit from and participate in this kind of exploitation. The Captain Nathan Taylor with the Narcotics Division. He added, "We will continue to aggressively pursue and prosecute anyone involved in human trafficking and related offenses. Our message is clear. Troup County would not be a safe haven for traffickers or those who support this vile industry." The list of suspects who are facing charges in the operation are Charles Smith, 61, from LaGrange, Georgia, pandering. Lindsay Downing, 33, male, LaGrange, Georgia. Tyree Towns, 20, of Hephzibah, Georgia. Nathan Kumar, for LaGrange, Georgia. Desmond McMillan, 25, for LaGrange, Georgia. Can y'all believe this? These people. Demetrius Thompson, 36, for LaGrange, Georgia. Demetrius Bartlett, Columbus, Georgia. Candace Bartlett, look at there. She's 42 and he's 29. I wonder if that's mother, possibly. Let's see. Uh, Possible. Alex Martinez, 54. Patrick Thomas, 28. Eric Gamble, 52. From LaGrange. Y'all know I'm from LaGrange. What I said. Charlie Denson, LaGrange. Jeff Wright, 54, LaGrange. Joshua Kirkendall, 42, for LaGrange. Possession of methamphetamine, pandering. Sierra Hartman, 25, female, Montgomery, Alabama. Prostitution, possession of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine. Christopher James, 45, Franklin, Georgia. Possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute, pandering, probation violation. Mark Gray, 31, in LaGrange, Georgia, pandering. James Logan, 40, Pine Mountain, Georgia, pandering. Demetrius Talley, 51, LaGrange, Georgia, pandering. Jasmine Griggs, 41, LaGrange, Georgia, pandering. Jarvis Good, LaGrange, Georgia, pandering, is 39. Romel Maycock, 43, LaGrange, Georgia, pandering. Aquarium Jackson, 32, from Lynette, Alabama. Trinity Mealler, Franklin, Georgia, 49. Sade Garrison, female, Columbus, Georgia. Ulysses Stinson, 35, LaGrange, Georgia. Brandy Gillette, 51, from St. Petersburg, Florida. Wow. Melissa Quillen, female, Augusta, Georgia, 38. Crystal Cox, another female, Phoenix City, Alabama, prostitution. You know, Melissa right here, she's pimping, and Brandy is pimping. Disgusting, disgusting, sorry pieces of crap, sorry. Brandon Smith, 41, Atlanta, Georgia, possession of cocaine and pimping. Makita Nelson, 33, female, Atlanta, Georgia, possession of cocaine. Kira Martin, 32, female, Austell, Georgia, possession of cocaine and prostitution. To show everybody, you with this over here. These two, Augusta area residents, were among 32 arrested in Georgia human trafficking sting. A major undercover operation in West Georgia led to 32 arrests and a range of charges for pandering to possession of cocaine. Here's what we know. On July 16th and 17th, multiple law enforcement agencies helped the Troup County Sheriff's Office, located in LaGrange, with this operation, utilizing technology to identify and locate individuals involved in prostitution and human trafficking. Reportedly arrested them once they committed acts in violation of state law. According to the sheriff's office post on Facebook, all 32 were arrested without incident and transported to the Troup County Jail. The investigation also revealed alleged victims of human trafficking and possible sex traffickers. Those cases are still under investigation with possible state or federal charges. Who was arrested in LaGrange trafficking sting? Among the 32 arrested were two from the Augusta area. Melissa Quillen, 38, of Augusta, was charged with pimping, and Tyree Towns, 20, of Hephzibah, was charged with pandering. Pimping is defined by the Georgia Code as essentially someone who helps facilitate prostitution, which can include arranging a meeting, transportation, and receiving money for it. Pandering is defined as when someone solicits a person to perform an act of prostitution in his or her own behalf or in behalf of a third person, or when he or she knowingly assembles persons at a fixed place for the purpose of being solicited by others to perform an act of prostitution. What is the penalty for pimping in Georgia? According to Lawson and Berry, a law firm from Sandy Springs, a conviction of pimping in Georgia will be guilty of a misdemeanor of a high or aggravated nature. A misdemeanor? Seriously? The penalties imposed will depend on the specific circumstances of the case, along with any prior criminal history. However, the punishment will likely include fines, jail time, community service, and the requirement to register with the sex offender registry. That's not good enough, people. That is not good enough. You pimp out people, you trap with them, and you get a misdemeanor? That's wrong. It can be elevated to a felony conviction if the situation involved the participation of a person younger than 18. It, it don't matter whatever age. There's 18-year-olds that's forced into it against their will too, you know. It don't matter. You shouldn't. Well, if the accomplices are under 16, the punishment will be 10 to 30 years in prison, a fine up to 100,000 or both. If the person is age 16 through 18, then the punishment will be 5 to 20 years in prison, a fine between 2,500 and 10,000 or both. That's still not enough time in jail. Look at that, 10 to 30 years if it's anybody that's accomplished under the age of 16. Wow. The offense was committed within 1,000 feet of any school building, school grounds, place of worship, or playground used by people under 17 years. Then the offender will also be fined an additional 2,500. What is the penalty for pandering in Georgia? The penalties for pandering are the same as pimping, according to Lawson and Berry. A conviction is a misdemeanor of a high or aggravated nature. It could be elevated to a felony depending on the circumstances. It will likely include jail time, community service, and the requirement to register with the sex offender registry. Wow. Anybody want to get parent talk? Yeah, Georgia has a lot of cases. You got that right. It's related to another case too. I'm going to go ahead and put if anybody wants to come up in the box. I got another case I want to discuss in the next day or so, depending on how I'm feeling since taking the courses, the human trafficking courses. So anyone who wants to come up in the box, please come on up. Put it back up again. Oh, it's related to Aunt Tammy's case. I hope that she gets justice. She's with Olivia's Arby, right? And if our box comes in, we want to promote his channel. And there's also Doodlebug. We are all here hoping that these people do get justice. Got a lot of people at Facebook that they want justice as well. So the next day or so, I want to do the case in Bibb County. Did you hear about that, Chris? I think that these people should get more when they're basically tracking, when they're pimping people out. A lot of times they don't get the trafficking charges when it's in the same state, and I think that's sickening. Because trafficking is more. It does not mean that you're really taking them across state lines. You get money for selling somebody. Rest of the range, Georgia, and Livingston. Oh my goodness. Yeah, mercy. We're pulling for her. You go back and look at that list again, see if I see anything different here. Hold on, let me go cut that off. Let me go off 3 or 4 times. Okay, it says right here. I don't think you want me to show it again. Um, if there's anything new here. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again because there's might be something a little different right here. Put it over here to where the bigger screen. So here's what the charges included: pandering, pimping, prostitution, drug-related offenses such as possession of methamphetamine and cocaine. Of the 32 individuals arrested, 22 were charged with pandering. We will continue to aggressively pursue and prosecute anyone involved in human trafficking and related offenses, Captain Nathan Taylor, Narcotics Division, wrote in a news release. Our message is clear. Troup County will not be a safe haven for traffickers or those who support this vile industry. I think with the trafficking, it should be a federal crime. So if you're charged with this, you don't need to be charged like a smaller, lesser charge. You need to really do something about it. Don't just say it. Do something about it, right? According to the release, there were 24 men arrested and 8 women. Of the women, 2 were charged with pimping and 5 were charged with prostitution. Okay. What happened with the other one though? Because they said there were, okay, according to release, 24 men. Okay. That's 8 women, so 2 were charged with pimping and 5 were charged with prostitution. What was the other one charged with, right? It's 8. Good question there. Here's for the police right here. Georgia State Patrol officers walked through a residential area off Solomon Avenue on Tybee Island on Friday, April the 19th, 2024. That's what that's a picture of. Those arrested range in age from 20 to 61 and come from across Georgia as well as neighboring states, including Alabama and Florida. Well, they needed better. Hey, Arctic, um, get you link up here if you want to come up here and talk. They just arrested a police officer in your town for inappropriate online communications with a minor. Wow. Yeah, I could give Arctic a wrench, yes, for sure. I thought he had one before. There we go. Would you like to come in the box, Arctic? So, like I said, in the next day or so, I'll be doing that story on what happened in Bibb County. I think it's in Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check it out more further. Oh, you can't come above it maybe in a bit. Okay. Yes, you can plug your link in there, Arctic, okay? So that people can come in and add you, follow you. Yeah, if he's not too busy, if he wants to post his link, he can. Thank you. You're quite welcome. Arctic does a lot of missing people and other crimes as well, right? Arctic, you are welcome, Arctic. We need to stick together on this and get the job done and get the news out there concerning all these people. I do appreciate y'all. Mostly missing in cold case. Okay. Mostly missing in cold case homicides. Yeah, there's so much. It's many people. It's missing today. I've got a case that I did on somebody, and I'll probably try to get you connected with that person and see if you want to talk with this person too. If that's okay at the Facebook Arctic. That mother had treated that child so badly, didn't feed him for a lot of hours, didn't change him for a lot of hours, and he ended up passing away. And he was so underweight, bless his heart. And she says the reason why she didn't get up and hold him or change him or feed him is because she had such a bad headache. Cases, Arctic Fox. Let me see. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. He's really good about breaking down the stories and able to tell it. Anybody wants to come up in the box, I'll go ahead and put the link down again. If not, we'll go shortly. I made some chili. Exactly. Even if you have a headache, you can take care of kids. You got that right. You're supposed to, you know. And see, that lady even had a babysitter. The lady even had grandparents. Hey there, Arctic.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Got me hungry now that you said you made chili. Shoot, I need to
Yeah.
come over and get me some.
Well, come get you some. Yeah, I made a big batch of it, like 2 pounds of it. So, what do you think about this story? We're catching 32 people, they're arrested, but you see what they are saying that it's basically a misdemeanor. I think something's wrong with that analogy, don't you?
Yeah, there's definitely something not adding up there. I mean, and I'm tired of these people that commit these atrocious crimes against children getting a slap on the damn wrist every time. Because it's like this old boy here in Arkansas. It's about 2 weeks ago, I think. He was convicted of essaying his own daughter, and he got a plea deal to where he didn't have to serve any time.
Mm. See what gets me when I went back and I started thinking about something today. Remember where I said the state trooper that did the child pornography on me? I mean, his daddy did, and he said that I was in a majority. His daddy had over 300, and I was in a majority of those. And then later on, he ended up getting arrested, according to some neighbors in an apartment where I lived. And did you know that I don't? It was not in the papers as far as I could tell. I could never find nothing about him. And but then he was no longer working for the state trooper, but he was working for the city cops. Man, why would the city cops go ahead and arrest somebody they knew was doing child pornography, right?
Jesus, unbelievable.
So it's really ridiculous. I mean, if they want to serve and protect, who are they serving and protecting? Is my question. I'm not
Well,
saying all cops are bad. I'm just saying that the ones that's doing this.
no, the thing of it is not all cops are bad, but covering these cases, covering the missing and especially these cold case homicides, and seeing how the law enforcement has dropped the ball in so many of these cases. No, not all law enforcements are bad, but the problem is so many of there's maybe five good officers to 100 bad officers out there, and that's the problem. And
Yes,
it should be up to these good officers to keep the bad officers in check.
exactly. And yet it's so many that they get overwhelmed. And like I was watching a video. Oh, yes, they do. They do. They need tougher sentences. They're getting away with so much and slapped on the wrist. And there was this guy that I did a case on in Alabama, and he rented out um, trailers, right, to the different women. And whenever he would go over there, he would intentionally, tell them that I'm going to kick you out if you don't give me sex, right?
Wow.
And he got slapped on the wrist. He didn't have to go to jail.
I mean, I'm working a case out of Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, where this woman's been missing since 2021. And shortly before she went missing, the old man that she was living with stabbed her in the leg. Right after she
Oh,
goes missing, her house gets set on fire, not once, but twice, in my opinion, in order to destroy evidence of what happened in the residence. Law enforcement there in Tulsa, Oklahoma didn't ever take the case seriously. This guy that she had been living with is a registered sex offender out of Texas, but he had never registered in the state of Oklahoma. He's currently got an active warrant out for his arrest in the state of Oklahoma, but they still haven't been able to pick him up. And I have pinpointed the area of Tulsa that he is staying in and told the officers what casinos he frequents on a regular basis.
And they're not doing nothing still, huh?
No.
That's sick.
Hold on,
Chris,
Chris, and I'll drop it.
okay. What is a Amber Alert petition that you're talking about?
So, in so many of these cases, the children don't get any type of Amber Alert or anything issued for them. And oftentimes, even when they meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, it's not issued. So I've got a petition on change.org to where I think we need to reform the Amber Alert system to where every missing child under the age of 18, regardless of circumstance, gets an Amber Alert issued immediately.
Exactly. I'm so tired of people saying, well, that child probably ran away. Even at 9 and 10 years old, the cops are saying, well, we ain't going to do nothing because he probably just wandered off somewhere. We ain't going to worry about looking for him. I heard that in so many instances, even age 10, man. And then later on, they end up finding the child dead. And it's like, do what? And you were warned, that no, he didn't run away. What are y'all doing, right?
Well, it's not even just that. I mean, this is what I always tell people. And when I've testified before the legislature, this is what I point out to them is that regardless of whether that child's a runaway or not, they're still someone's loved one. There's still a child that's out there on the streets. And statistically speaking, the children that run away are at higher risk of being trafficked or selling themselves out on the streets in order to support themselves than the person that's been abducted by a predator.
Right. Another thing I think that needs change as well.
What's
There's your
that?
link right there. Like when I was a teenager and I was too scared to tell, of course, the abuse and all that, right? I was too scared to tell what was going on. And the principal called me to the office and everything, and I didn't know why he called me in there. A couple years after I done divorced my husband, and I called him years later. Said, "Why do you have me in the office for? What did I do wrong?" He said, "We knew you were being abused." I said, "Well, why didn't y'all get me help? Because we needed you to speak." I said, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We are too scared to talk. There has to be some
Yep.
kind of laws out there that if you know these kids are being abused, why can't they not still intervene and say, we know she's being abused, we need to take that in our own hands? How come you got to wait till the kid to talk and speak up when the
Well,
kid's too afraid to speak up,
I understand what you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly. The problem is that when they get that predator into court, if you're unwilling to testify against them, then there's really nothing to hold that piece of shit accountable. It's just like I'm sure I don't know if you heard or not, but the person that founded Missing People in America, he had two different
The John
cases
Marsh?
against him for crimes against children. Both of them, he ended up either not serving any time at all or getting a slap on the wrist because the one of the cases, um, he they didn't give him access to a speedy trial. That's how he got that one dismissed. And in the other case, the victim was scared shitless and wasn't willing to testify, and so he got a slap on the wrist in that one.
The other thing is, if they had the evidence without the kid having to testify, that's a different story. Like they said, they had the evidence. You know what I'm saying?
I understand completely. I
He
do.
got so screwed up out of there. He said, "But if you would have spoke up, I would have, got you out of there." I said, "Yeah, but if I would have spoke up, then I would have had to return back home, and y'all would have returned me back to them, and then I wouldn't probably be alive today, because, like I said, that y'all already know that my stepmom held me down and her son raped me and she killed a kid, at home,
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, I
y'all
mean,
ready?
and
I mean,
even in
what
cases
you
where people, even in the cases where people do speak up, where action is taken. We need to completely revamp our CPS system too, because what happens is these children, they'll get removed. They'll be put in a foster care system where they're loved and shown attention and affection for the first time in their entire lives. And then, a year down the road, because they're so dead set on reunifying children with their natural born families, that child gets returned to their abuser. And I think that's bullshit too.
Hello, Carlene. Exactly. I did not understand why the court system had known that my stepmom was doing sexual when I was a little girl, right? Why would they go ahead and put us, when I was 11 years old, living with her, and my stepdad was still on probation for murder, okay? Why would they put us in a home like that? You know what I'm saying? Even though my dad's was a bad place, his was still a better choice than, over there, but they went ahead and chose, and I'm saying, why didn't you just, there's plenty of other places that it would have worked.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
It's like, what needs to change? It's like, why do you have to wait for the child to speak when you already see the bruises and everything all over their bodies? Why do you have to wait? Why can't you remove the child if you've got all the things what they're showing, right?
I agree. Unfortunately, like I said, it's going to take all of us advocates, advocating for this change that needs to take place. And what I would like to see happen, and I tried to organize something like this a few years ago, is I would like to get on National Children's Day demonstrations outside of every CPS office in this country so that, it will send the message that change needs to take place.
You see what Carlene said?
Yep. I see that. Yeah, and you're
There's
you're
a
not
lot of,
wrong.
exactly. And CPS turns foster care. And I had known a couple that was in Alabama, and they had worked at Waffle House. And you ever know anybody with brittle bone? So a kid could easily fall over and break his bone. That's how her two kids were, okay? And she could not help that. They were born with that thing, right?
Yeah.
So she kept having to take her kids to the doctor for that, and they ended up taking her kids away, even though it was proven them in the court of law that, hey, this is a medical condition that they did not abuse. They still said you cannot get your kids back till you go through these parenting classes of abuse and all that. So they were still torturing the parents, and almost like they don't want to accept the fact that they were wrong. So there's so much in the systems that needs changing, and there's so many foster care people that they're running away from homes. And even I did a story on a guy that was in charge of foster care or CP. I can't remember whether it's foster care or CPS, and he was at one of the homes, and he literally, and the kids were running out, and he was shooting a gun. Man, it's literally shooting a gun.
Wow.
I'm like, and they knew he was bad, and yet they fired him from the CPS thing, and they put him over there in charge of taking care of kids out of home. Even though he was bad in the business, now he's around more kids when he's in the home, right?
Like I said, there's a lot of corruption within the CPS system itself, and there's got to be some major reform and major changes taking place. That'll fix a lot of the problems that are going on. But you have to realize that the CPS system hasn't had a real overhaul since Kennedy was in office.
Right. And what's sad is that they try to live it up to themselves on what their determination is. And you go to their houses, and I can bet you they're not a good parent at all. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them are drugs and stuff that works for CPS as well.
Mm.
Like Charles Rogers has said that two of the guys that was at Bentley Farms that he tried to help rescue that was foster care, both the parents have sold them over to and gave them over to um, that for them to do what they did to the two young boys.
Mm.
So it's like it's a never ending story when we got people in power so high up and so corrupt, and they're not even getting. It's well and good that we find these ones that's little bitty. I call these little bitty ones, right? But what about the bigger ones? That's the judges and the senators and the lawyers and
Well, I mean,
all
it
that.
goes all the way up to the top. I mean, the top level of office, the head of this country, is very well possibly on the Epstein list. I mean, and it's ridiculous. I mean, you've got the people that are supposed to be sitting here passing laws to protect children, and they're sitting here harming our kids. A child's not even safe going to church anymore. I mean, look at how many priests have been convicted of crimes against kids.
I just know that I heard that he's possibly on there, but all the girls who ever testified and said he never did nothing and he wouldn't let. It was just on Epstein's plane that he would never went to Epstein Island.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I'm gonna keep my
but anyway,
opinions on it to myself because
yeah,
everyone's got their own views on him. So
everybody does. That's true. We definitely need to be doing something, and I think there's been a lot more that's been caught recently, which is good. I can't remember where that one was. That was underground, because they rescued a lot of women and kids in the
well,
underground.
it has done my heart good to see so many of these sting operations within the last 4 or 5 months rescuing so many kids that have been trafficked. Though, I mean, every time I turn on flip through Facebook, it seems like another one has been successful. So that is something that warms my heart. I mean, they're bringing a lot of these missing kids home with these operation whatever throughout Tennessee and Arkansas and wherever.
Yeah, and a friend of mine, okay, said, but here, you Doodle and Darlene, and yeah, yeah, that would be good to do that sometime. I have open panels sometimes on here for people just come in here and discuss different
Now,
issues.
Chris, I've been talking with Doodle about starting to do my weekly roundtables with other creators again. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get that going soon.
Yeah, and I want to get back to at least once or twice a week, where different people come in there. If you want to tell your story, you're just during while we got it open, you're free to do it or talk about whatever's necessary. But what are we going to do with? Oh, I got to tell you about this. Okay, Charles is hoping to get a coalition started, and the first starting place is going to be in North Carolina, and then he hopes that everybody would take that initiative and start their own coalition in their own cities. So we're going to find out more about that sometime soon.
Oh, that sounds like a plan.
And
I'll help
also,
y'all any way that I can.
appreciate it. And then there's this guy that I have met. I'm taking a human trafficking course right now because I was accepted. I got a scholarship. And the very first guy on Monday, he said he'll be glad to come in here and talk to us. And he was, I think he was a survivor of trafficking, or he's an attorney, not excuse me, let's see, a therapist. And he says, the biggest problem with that is that, and I agree with him. How many places are there really for the male population? When you're being trafficked, there's not that many.
No, no, and guys especially are afraid to speak up when they have crimes committed against them of a sexual nature. That's why you see so many of these young men committing suicide because they've been sextorted online and stuff. because whenever it's a guy, for whatever reason, guys are made to feel like it's their fault that this happened to them
Yeah,
and
you're
that they're
supposed to be
less
the
of a man.
strong. You're supposed to be strong and all this, but like
Yeah.
I told them that they need the same kind of things that we need. There's some that's just been trafficked and rescued that's adult male by the time they're rescued. They can't just be let go and we're not having no schooling or no way to make money to be able to put food in their stomach or whatever, or pay rent, much less either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's how these kids end up in trafficking rings too, is because these Amber Alerts aren't getting issued and stuff. And back in the 70s, 80s, it wasn't unheard of for parents to be told you got to wait 48, 72 hours to report your kid missing. And even though it's illegal for law enforcement to tell families that now, it's still happening.
Exactly. And that's a shame with that. And then somebody goes, "Well, my daughter's supposed to got off the school bus and she didn't, and she didn't come in till the next morning, my friend. She went home with somebody else, but still the law should have been on it. What if she went home with a guy she trusted? We don't know who she was really with, right?
Yeah.
It could have been an adult male for all we know, right? I wonder if she didn't come back pregnant or anything. So it was really scary because the police would not do a dang thing trying to find the daughter. It's a And even these smaller ones, a lot of times, I had heard some parents say, but they told us just look around the area more, and if you don't find them, come call us back or something. I've even heard some people say that they find them deceased in the pond, or the neighbor's pool or something. It's like get real, help. The person would not be calling if they did not need help.
And
So I
that's the
think
thing. I mean, and God forbid it's a missing adult case, because then what families are told, well, they're an adult, they can go missing if they want to, and if they happen to have a history of drug abuse or any type of crimes, then it's their lifestyle that caused them to go missing. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, and law enforcement just don't want to get off their ass and do their damn job. That's what it boils down to.
it's pretty much the case right there with a lot of it too. Yeah. And the cases that are connected in Missouri that need an act. Oh yeah, that's for sure. So y'all, Arctic, there has been. Tell them a little bit more again, so people that just came in. I don't know if Carlene heard you talk about that. Carlene, did you hear him talk about what he's trying to get out signed?
So I've got a petition on change.org right now, and what it would do is reform our Amber Alert system to where every missing child we get an Amber Alert that's under the age of 18 years old. Because right now there's so much criteria that has to be met in order for a child to get an Amber Alert issued, and the criteria varies from state to state. A child that would get an Amber Alert issued in Oklahoma may not, that same child, if they were missing out of Washington, may not get an Amber Alert issued. And it's absolutely ridiculous the hoops that people have to jump through to get their child an Amber Alert issued right now. And it shouldn't be that way. So I'll put the link in the chat again. I really would like to see everyone sign this petition. I'm trying to get it to 500,000 signatures before I take it to DC and present it up there.
And make sure you send it to that Facebook group, so that I'll be able to copy it there and share it to my Facebook for my people here as well.
All right.
And see if going to put this down there, but somebody keeps coming and leaving, but maybe they'll be right back. I am going to go ahead and put the link back up here. If they want to get up here and get in the discussion, great. So, what avenues do you think needs change too with that? Yeah, she's all for it too. Carlene is.
Yeah, I
Miss
mean
Karen, the lady.
that's the main thing is just making sure that every child gets an Amber Alert that's under the age of 18, because all this criteria that has to be met, and then again, oftentimes even if you meet the criteria, they don't issue the Amber Alert. Another thing that needs to happen that I would like to see happen, but that's later on down the road. You got to pick your battles carefully, but I'd like to see the Amber Alerts broadcast not just to cell phones and broadcast television. I'd like to see the Amber Alerts broadcast to apps like YouTube, like Netflix, like Hulu, because let's face it, the majority of people today, they don't get their news from standard broadcast television. They watch Netflix, they watch Hulu, they watch you know um, YouTube, they watch all these different streaming services.
Exactly. I noticed though, I have got this crime report app, right? And it does not show me right away. It show me like hours after a crime has been done or medical emergency or whatever in my area, right? But the bad thing is, when I was like when I was in Alabama, then I get an alert about this guy in close around Swanee, Tennessee. That trying to think about that other. It's around that area, okay, around Swanee, and he kidnapped his son. So it's aggravated kidnapping, and it was this past weekend, and he did it by he had a gun.
Yeah,
Okay,
covered
and
that case. I
and
remember
yet,
that one.
and I didn't even hear any. I didn't get no Amber Alerts. You know, no Amber Alerts whatsoever. My son didn't get no Amber Alerts. Nobody got any Amber Alerts. And so I went ahead and like when I stopped at a McDonald's or a fast food store or something, I went ahead and I showed there was a park ranger, right? And I said, well, park ranger, that's a good idea to tell him about because a lot of times they might try to go hide, at parks or in the woods or something, right? So I said, can you pass this on about this one guy? And he said he would. But it's kind of pathetic because a lot of people in the area just did not know because it wasn't broadcast everywhere.
Well, and that's the sad thing because that child did have an Amber Alert, if I remember right. But that's the problem. These Amber Alerts, even when they do get issued, there's a delay in them getting broadcast out if they get broadcast out or at all. Or they'll issue an Amber Alert, but they don't issue the alert for 48 hours after the child goes missing. Well, by that time, they could be across the border into Mexico or Canada.
Did they ever find the kid, if you know?
I believe so. He was located, but I can't remember if he was alive or deceased when they found him.
Yeah, his daddy was Gonzalez Lopez. Was he had four names to his name? It's kind of weird, but Gonzalez Lopez, that was the last names. And I'm like, wow, and he had a gun. So aggravated kidnapping, and there was a assault with that weapon too. So that was not a good guy whatsoever. So if he hadn't been found, I hope he's found alive. And if he was found, I pray he was found alive. I pray he didn't get killed by the daddy.
No, he was found. I just looked it up. He was found. He was found unharmed. Thank goodness. So yeah, that was a good outcome on that one.
Thank God. Oh, all right. That's good. And see, the bad thing is when they gave me when I see that Amber Alert, all they did was give a little bit of description, and you could tell by the description, he was Hispanic just because of his name, right? But the problem is they did not send a picture of him nor the kid. I mean, how when you send out an Amber Alert, aren't you supposed to send out a picture so that we'll know how is there's so many people that can fit that description?
Well, generally speaking, 90% of the Amber Alerts that I receive on my phone don't have a picture attached to them. Now, when they broadcast them out on TV, usually they do try to, but or on social media, but you'd be surprised at how many Amber Alerts I've seen posted on Facebook where the initial alert that goes out, there is no picture attached to it. I guess, part of that is it may take time to get a picture from the mother or the father or whoever's reporting the abduction. But yeah, it just blows my mind. I'm like, well, okay, it's great that you've issued the alert, but a picture of the kid and the suspect would be nice.
Exactly, because all they described was that I really took notice when he was wearing black. He was wearing all black, and the boy was wearing gray pants or gray shirt, something like that. And it's like, really, no more than this? How tall he was or anything? You know what I'm saying?
Yep, yep. I mean, mm, covering these cases, I'll tell you what's really bad is um, going to cover these indigenous cases out of Oklahoma and New Mexico and stuff. You'd be
Yes,
surprised how many of them do not have a photo associated with their missing persons case. And it's tough to try to cover those cases without a photo of the person that's missing.
yeah. I remember back when I started looking into the indigenous thing. I saw that school up in Canada years ago. Remember when they found all those? They started digging up out there, and they seen all the
Hmm.
bodies. I mean, that just blew me away. It's like, whoa, I was so shocked about it. Mass graves. It's ridiculous. I think somewhere else, if I'm not mistaken, they started. Where was that at? Was this recently too, where they found some bodies in the plumbing system or something? Or was that where they did? Where they ended up doing something with the ladies' babies and stuff like that, having all them pregnant women and did not want the woman to have the kid or young girl because they said it's a sin. So they started doing that down the septic lines.
I think I remember hearing something about that. It's been a hard minute since I read up on that one, but yeah, I do remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, and when I was reading more on the baby Grace case, when they had called her um, that name, and then the grandmother, luckily she stood up. She even had went to the police in advance and said, "I'm worried about my granddaughter. That she's not a good parent here. The mom, not a good parent. It's a dangerous situation. Don't please do something. She is volatile. She is not. Something's going to happen to her. And it did.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, yeah, a lot of times, even when people do speak up, their cries for help go ignored. I mean, there's been several cases like that. Look at Harmony Montgomery. That's a prime example. That's a failure of the CPS system. Cody Bixby was a failure of the CPS system. Oakley
Yeah,
Carlson's a failure of the CPS system. I could go on all day with children that have been failed by the system that's supposed to be in place to protect them.
yeah, exactly. And how many times, you see the movies and you depict it and it shows the kid begging, like, I don't want to go I don't want to go. Don't make me go home with mama. Don't make me go home with mama, or something like that. And the caseworker just goes ahead. He's being belligerent. Then they go ahead and arrest caretakers and, like, I'm trying to be there because the kid is afraid to death of their mama for some reason, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, and there's too many cases out there. Like, I don't know if you knew that or not, but I was missing for about 3 days. Somebody rescued me out from underneath the house where they put me under the house to die. Um,
Wow.
and I was missing for 3 days, and it was because somebody saved me out from underneath the house, right? But when they found me, I was in a hotel room and the guy was doctoring me, right? And he told him, he said, please don't send her home. Please take her to go to the hospital. She needs checked out. She don't need to go back to that home, right? And the police said, well, the stepmom's got custody. We're taking her back. We're taking her back over there. So they took me back over there without getting me any kind of medical attention whatsoever. I was 15. Yep. It's pretty sick.
Oh, Chris, did he get true life without parole, or did he get the possibility of getting paroled later on down the road? Because I pray to God he doesn't have any chance of ever getting out of there.
What gets me mad is like when we put them in for life in prison. I mean, whoever they might have hurt or killed or whatever, they didn't have a chance to survive. Why do we want to keep letting them? They're going to get better treatment than the victim that they harmed. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. I mean, I used to be very anti death penalty, but now with DNA, if you can prove 100% without a shadow of the doubt that this person committed this homicide, then I think that there shouldn't even be life in prison. I think it should be an express to the death penalty.
Yeah. So why do we want to keep feeding, using our tax money to support them? And they're getting.
But there are cases out there like the Darlie Routier case out of Texas where they don't have any DNA or anything to conclusively prove that she killed her kids. And quite honestly, after reviewing the case, I don't think she did. So, that's why, I'm still kind of on the fence about the death penalty because I would hate once you cross that line and you put someone to death for a crime, you can't undo
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm for that too. Like unless you got explicit evidence, that everything. But then again, there could be also framed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, but there's too many cases. Like I got some friends that's in jail and they need to get out too. Oh, it's without parole.
Good deal. Thank God.
Why can't we just send them over there to get alligator Alcatraz? You know, try to escape. Then guess what? The gators will get you. And make sure you don't get out and hurt anybody. Yeah,
Well,
because
that would be a better purpose for it than what they built it for. So.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in and talking. I got Bible study in about an hour, so I'm gonna try to get ready for that. And I appreciate you coming and talking. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, I'm thankful to Chris that he sent me the link, said you were live right now. So.
Yeah, like I said, I want to try to do that Bibb case. Have you heard about that Bibb County case?
No, I haven't.
Sex trafficking, and they had kids in a underground storm bunker, and they were as young as 2 years old, chained to a bed, and they even used beasts. And there's four of them that's been arrested for trafficking these five kids out.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
even used
Yeah.
dogs.
Wow. Well, I will make sure I haven't been getting your notifications. I'll make sure they're turned on. And when you do that case, I'll try to pop in here for it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm supposed to be. I get your notifications a little bit late, but I don't have it where it comes on my phone intentionally. Since I'm doing so much.
I
But
hear you.
I get notifications. Sent so I have it on there where I can go back and watch, and that's what I do at times. What I hate though is a lot of times, like if I get a link like at Facebook and somebody says go to YouTube and watch that, and then I click on it in Facebook, even though I'm already logged on to YouTube on my computer. If I click on the link to go to per se, like to yours or something like that, it's going to say log in, and it
Yeah,
just upset me.
what you have to do on Facebook a lot of the time is you'll click on the link, and then once that opens up, it'll open up in a window, and at the top there will be like three little dots, and it'll give you the option to open the app and watch it, and that way you don't have to re-log in and everything.
Okay, I didn't see that. It just pops up like log in. It don't that window's in the way, log in.
Uh,
So it's a hassle, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Whenever it's at Facebook, it just gives me a little bit of trouble. But at least
yeah,
I'll go and look at the name of it, and then I could go to YouTube and then look it up, and then see that I do have a bell icon at the top of the page, which helps a lot as well. Y'all make sure if you uh, Facebook, if you YouTube it, make sure you follow Arctic Fox, and he's going to send me a link. And I hope that everyone that when I share it out as well, will sign it, the petition. I appreciate that. And we'll know more from Charles Rogers. Hopefully, I'll be able to have him on the show soon when he can describe that when he's talking about the coalition. Okay.
sounds good. I'm gonna go ahead and drop down from here. I gotta try to cook something for dinner.
Yeah, I got my that cooked in there that it's already calling my name, the chili.
All right. Well, we'll have to do this more often. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone, and y'all have a blessed day. Make sure you stick up and stand up for children. God bless you.